Wanted to send out a video about reading Dante. This is poetry. It was translated from the Italian by an American poet named Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who was one of the great poets of 19th century America. But it's poetry, and it can be difficult to read. I know that. It's difficult for me to read. One of the things that I do when I find something difficult, especially with poetry, but also with prose, is to read it aloud, and that helps me quite a bit. That's what I would suggest for you. I am also including a link to a person reading it, this text, the Longfellow translation of Dante's Inferno, on YouTube. It also, so read it aloud yourself, listen to someone else read it, and it helps a lot. I would say that when you feel like your reading is dead, when you're just not able to get into something, reading aloud, no matter what it is a good way to try to get you into it. I'm going to read a few stanzas, see how it goes, give you a sense of how I would emphasize the words, how I would try to make sense of them. Midway upon the journey of our life. Now, this is poetry in a certain meter. You don't have to read it in the meter, but it's good to hear that. I mean, it's in pentameter. Midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within a forest dark, for the straightforward pathway had been lost. Now, that's obviously not the right way to read it. You just read it in the way that it seems natural, but it's good to know that underneath the words there is that meter. That's the rhythm of the poem. Midway upon the journey of our life, which is just midway upon the journey of our life. But it's written in this strict, is it iambic pentameter? One, one, two, two, three, three, four, four, five, five. Yes, it's iambic pentameter. It's the same meter as Shakespeare's plays. So let's read it a little bit, thinking about feeling the rhythm underneath. Right? I mean, midway upon the journey of our life sounds pretty silly, so we just read midway upon the journey of our life. I found myself within a forest dark, for the straightforward pathway had been lost. Ah me, how hard a thing it is to say what was this forest savage, rough and stern, which in the very thought renews the fear. So bitter is it, death is little more. But of the good to treat, which there I found, speak will I of the other things I saw there. I cannot well repeat how there I entered, so full was I of slumber at the moment, in which I had abandoned the true way. But after I had reached a mountain's foot, at that point where the valley terminated, which had with consternation pierced my heart, upward I looked, and I beheld its shoulders vested already with that planet's rays which leadeth others right by every road. Then was the fear a little quieted, that in my heart's lake had endured throughout the night, which I had passed so piteously. And even as he, who with distressful breath forth issued from the sea upon the shore, turns to the water, perilous, and gazes, so did my soul, that still was fleeing onward, turn itself back to rehold the pass which never yet a living person left. After my weary body I had rested, the way resumed I on the desert slope, so that the firm foot ever was the lower. And lo, almost where the ascent began, a panther, light and swift exceedingly, which with a spotted skin was covered o'er. And never moved she from before my face, nay, rather did impede so much my way, that many times I to return had turned. The time was the beginning of the morning, and up the sun was mounting with those stars that with him were, what time the love divine at first in motion set those beauteous things. So were to me occasion of good hope, the variegated skin of that wild beast, the hour of time, and the delicious season, but not so much that did not give me fear a lion's aspect which appeared to me. He seemed as if against me he were coming, with head uplifted and with ravenous hunger, so that it seemed the air was afraid of him. And a she-wolf, that with all hungerings seemed to be laden in her meagreness, and many folk has cause to live forlorn. She brought upon me so much heaviness with the affright that from her aspect came, that I the hope relinquished of the height. And as he is who willingly acquires, and the time comes that causes him to lose, who weeps in all his thoughts and is despondent, in such made me that beast withouten peace, which coming on against me by degrees, thrust me back thither where the sun was silent. While I was rushing downward to the lowland, before mine eyes did one present himself, who seemed from long continued silence hoarse. When I beheld him in the desert vast, have pity on me unto him, I cried, whiche'er thou art, or shade, or real man. I'll stop there. This is where Dante meets the poet, the shade, the ghost, you might say, of the ancient Roman poet Virgil, who serves as his guide through hell, through the inferno. So, I mean, that helps me. If I feel like if I can read it sensibly and listen to it and get it in my ears and in my mouth, then I get a lot more out of it. So try that yourself, reading it aloud, and maybe try listening to it also with a very good narrator in the YouTube video that I'll link.